Good morning and welcome to the Commission meeting, December 6th, 2022. With us this morning is our Clerk Auditor, Junior DeMullen, County Attorney Vaughn Christensen, Commissioner Tammy Pearson, Commissioner Ray Hollingshead, Jen Wakeland. We're going to excuse Secretary Stephanie Laws. Commissioner Whitney will be conducting the meeting this morning. We'll start by asking Commissioner Hollingshead if he will offer us a word of prayer, and then Commissioner Pearson if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we give you thanks this day, opportunity to be here today in our Commission meeting today. We thank you for the opportunity to be here in this building, the blessings we have there, and the opportunity to live in this country and this county. Thank you for the freedoms that were forced here. We pray for those individuals, specifically in our county, who need that watchful care, we thank you for the families and blessings we have here. Help us to make decisions that will benefit all. We'll be able to the more should we receive, we continue to ask this out, continue to bless us. The more should we need to sustain our livelihoods and be able to live and do the things we do here. We thank you for this holiday season. We pray for I want to prepare all of us as we go about it, doing each other, families, friends. We humbly thank you and ask you for your blessing in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. Okay, you've had a chance to look at the bills. If there's no concerns on it, I will entertain a motion to accept the bills as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Got a motion by Commissioner Pearson,
Thank you.
second by Commissioner Hollingshead. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Let's talk about the minutes. We received them. You want to go put them on the screen, Jim?
You want a minute?
If you would, please.
Sure.
Hey, go back, just one thing right there. In fact, I'll ask Kyle when he gets there. I just want to make sure that that particular section is followed through, to make sure that nothing happens out there until a subdivision is vacated.
Yeah, I know the application has been received. They're working on it. It'll go in front of planning and zoning in December.
Okay, so
and it'll be the final would be in January.
Okay.
As I was told yesterday.
Okay, when you and I talked the other day, it has been done.
So we won't publish the notice of adoption until it's complete.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we followed through on that. Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hollingshead,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pearson. Any questions, comments, concerns? Any council?
No, thank you.
Good. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, I'm going to turn to something smiley over to you.
Oh.
Amazon Smile Cherry. Can you handle that in just a few minutes?
I certainly can. I wanted to bring Tracy on board for part of this, but let me, maybe we come back to that in a few minutes to see if she thinks it's feasible. We do some of our purchasing through Amazon, the smaller items that don't have to go out to public bids because of the small amount, you can just purchase them.
That falls within the parameter of our procurement policy, right?
Exactly right, exactly right. Amazon has a function that is a charitable arm of the business called Smile, Amazon Smile. When people make purchases through Amazon Smile, a portion of it is donated to a charity of the buyer's choice. And there are a number of local charities that could potentially benefit from that here locally in Beaver County. It wouldn't be a ton of money, but it would be a little bit of something. It doesn't increase the cost of the purchase in any way. So there's no additional cost to the buyer, but it does mean that Amazon donates a portion of the proceeds to the charity that's elected. And you could probably think of any of a number of charities that could benefit from that. For example, the food bank across the street is a 501c3 corporation. I know they're struggling a little bit right now. And so to have a few extra dollars each month helps them pay the bills. Or there are others. I mean, I'm a little bit partial, but Civic Arts could potentially be one, Scouts of Beaver County could be one, you could come up with others.
What about the
Girls and Boy
CJC?
Scouts, the CJC could be one, absolutely, the Friends Board of the Children's Justice Center. And so, if Tracy thinks it's feasible, if she believes it wouldn't add too much extra work for her, that might be something that we could begin doing.
I like that idea.
Who selects the charity?
Well, it would have to be the commission.
Okay.
They would have to choose one, and if you couldn't decide, maybe you could alternate through. Maybe one each year, every 6
So
months.
it's the county doing the purchasing, and then the county specifically would pick the charity.
So the commission would pick, you just discuss it and figure out one that you felt could benefit from it, and then you tell Tracy to designate them as the charity of Amazon Smile, and then they would get a very small percentage of every purchase.
Is this only available to businesses? In other words, I, as a consumer, do the same thing?
Oh, anyone who purchases on Amazon can do this.
I've never heard of it before. I mean, it's a noble and great idea, Council.
Yeah, and so, the county, I would think, buys
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
And why not benefit from the local nonprofit?
Do you have to sign up with Amazon to do that, or how?
Well, the charity has to sign up with Amazon, and so, for example, Carolyn White, she'd just have to go in, she'd have to connect the food bank's account and feed them the 501c3 information, prove to Amazon that they're a legitimate 501c3, and then they put her on the list. And then all Tracy would have to do is just say, I pick the food bank, the Beaver County Food Network, and then every purchase that she made through Amazon Smile, a portion of that would go to the food.
So this is something we can put on our website or
Sure.
our Facebook page, everything. They can actually put it out there saying, if you're interested in these claims, just like you did, so there's no misperception in the public, as there usually is, that we call
Yeah.
them misinformed, so that they're not going to hang anybody, to let them know that if they're interested in having their 501c3 nonprofit corporation benefit from this, to please contact us.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to take care of that, Jen, put that as a note on there.
Yes, we can do that.
Is that the requirement, it has to be a nonprofit
It
organization?
must be a tax-exempt nonprofit.
Gotta be a
So
501c3.
it's got to be registered with the state, it's also got to have tax-exempt status with the IRS. Once Amazon confirms that, then they get a portion of every sale to that.
So I know, and I've been meaning to ask this, and it might be Leanne or you that I've asked, but when they passed a law 2 or 3 years ago about the zip code, so when you're doing all the online purchasing, the county or the local sales tax thing is supposed to be, is there any way of tracking that?
I don't know, because that would actually be a Leanne question. I don't know
That's
how,
what I thought.
and I don't know how far it goes. Supposedly it goes to the state, and the state would just disperse.
Disperse that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be point of sale,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just for years
I
and
just
years.
wondering if there's
all
any way of tracking that.
Yeah,
State tax commission would be the one.
because we fought the Dickens, because all vehicles that was bought out of in Cedar City, St. George, Salt Lake, we never saw a drop in tax in it, so we fought the legislature years ago to get that legislation changed to where it was point of origin and not point of sale.
Mhm.
And so now we get those portions of every vehicle, anything that's sold, especially vehicles that is paid sales tax, we get that returned back to the county.
out to the PKIS, but we don't know per transaction, like, we'll never know that.
Like, you just get a check on it.
They take their portion, the county gets theirs.
I would think-
PKIS.
But I wonder if
and
the
it's
county, that is a
first
good idea, maybe you can track that or do something.
There
like
should
say
be,
this
yeah,
year,
there should be.
to find out more of a report that shows the point of origin rather than just the point of sale.
Well, obvious, I mean, I'm not much of a shopper, if I don't shop local, I shop online. So, I would think naturally the last 2 or 3 years with COVID and everybody ordering everything off Amazon or whatever, you know, that should have been a pretty significant increase in the sales.
I believe sales tax has increased, but
Just don't know how to,
I don't know who, like, you know, you're saying the origin,
right,
I don't know if we would ever know that.
I
Well,
don't know.
my question on that too would be that, when we're saying point of origin, if it's 84752, or 84713, that's Beaver.
It goes to
Is it going to Beaver or is it going to Beaver County? The same with Milford. If it's purchased outside of the city limits,
Right.
that's actually county, but it's still the city zip code. I mean, I live out of town, but I still have Milford zip code, so I would assume it would go to the city. I don't know how you'd ever, I don't know, but that's a good question, Commissioner, I don't know how you'd ever track
Maybe they
that,
have
you could
quadrants
possibly follow
on a
through.
map of where people, I don't know, I'm just gonna be, we didn't have an answer today, but I think.
Oh, I
Yeah.
Well, Commissioners, back to the Amazon Smile, if that's okay.
You want to come up, Trace?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Tracy.
You want to come up, Trace?
Christine Whiteside. I meant to talk to her in advance, but I didn't get a chance this morning because.
Let's see, nice.
What's up?
So Tracy, many of our purchases in our procurement code are made through Amazon, as I understand. Some of them are at least. And Amazon has a function called Amazon Smile that allows the purchaser to donate a portion of their proceeds to a local charity of their choice without increasing the purchase price. And I suggested to the commission that if we are using Amazon, that maybe one of the commission can get back to the community is just get them a list, or you could get them a list of local charities. They would pick one that they like, and we could make the purchases through Amazon Smile rather than just plain old Amazon, so that a portion would come back.
I will look into that. We have a business account. I know, I personally, with my personal one, can do that, and then I do it to the scout through, but I'll look if my business one does it, because I haven't seen the drop down. So we get business pricing, tax exempt, we get other features, so I don't know if they
So,
link it to
got
business.
It
But
may
I will
not be
look.
feasible for business.
Yes, but I will definitely look.
Yeah, I give mine to the scout troop as well. But other charities could be the food bank, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's other ones. I
Justice
just
Center.
was saying that I am aware of the program, but I don't know about the link with the business, so I'll look.
That's all we're asking, is council brought it up and.
Sure.
keep all of it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Close down, Kyle, go ahead and come on up. Good morning, Kyle, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Great. Did you get those emails, Sharon, back there?
Yeah.
So, 10 pages from 27. But I will say, those 10 pages are kind of just the outline of business licenses, right? The 27 pages before actually breaks down, like I talked with Jen about beer licenses and adult-oriented businesses and lots of other items that we aren't covering now, but right, we're going to have to add those on eventually, like soliciting, and I was going to say we have a...
We do the beer license.
Correct. Yeah, the beer license is already in our ordinance. I think we just update that.
That's the only license we do, is the restaurant.
We do
Restaurant.
But that's also state mandated.
Right.
And so like the license, the restaurant license one would fall under this one now. We would remove that entire section. The business license, or the beer license, we would upgrade. We have youth homes and youth camps, things like that, soliciting, and all of those others that would be later on. But this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the general licensing plan.
So is this one that you've got on the screen right now, is that, I mean, we've got a different one in our packet.
Correct, yeah,
So
this
what's the
is
difference?
kind of, this is
The
what,
broke down version.
yeah, I've added definitions, added
Okay.
all of those. That was the original one that we talked about and said, hey, if you guys want me to go forward with that, and then now I've completely revamped and changed and altered, and anyway, so it's 10 pages now, so.
So have you included my office in this one? Because I noticed it was in the definition in the other one, but I haven't seen this one, so I was just trying to.
Yeah, it's similar to that
Okay.
previous one there.
So this will just be added to the other 27 pages then, right?
No, this will be,
Replace
that will replace it, right?
It'll replace the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because.
And is this the one you recommended us then?
Printed that off.
This is the one I'm most likely recommending to you guys after discussion, how's that?
Well, continue the discussion.
Like I said, this is, and what I gave Jen was the 10 pages, right, the meat and potatoes of business licenses, the definitions, and I would say the biggest one that we would probably want to discuss is 315 exemptions from business licenses. Right, so failure to obtain a permit, all those things are up above, but this is the one that is your exemptions from a business license. So, number one, any person or organization for an activity which is conducted, managed, or carried on holy or charitable or religious purposes. I mean, these are pretty much out of the state of Utah's section 59.12.104 tax exemptions. Number two is your bona fide farming and ranching operations, which is engaged in the raising of plants and or animals useful to man unless said business is authorized to collect state sales taxes under the Utah statute for sales made for products. So right, it's your, if you are not collecting sales tax as a farmer, then you would not be required to get a business license. If you are, say you have your product and you are selling it to a company who is then putting it on the shelf, right, that's different. It's not I'm selling my hay to farmer John, right, you would not be required to get a business license in that regard. So, Jen and I had a little bit of discussion. I had to go look up state law. That's why I knew 59.12.104, 18, 19, and 20 that talks about those things. And so, right, most farmers are exempt from sales tax as long as they are selling their product in season, and then not, right, I'm not selling it to the IFA and they're putting it on their shelf, right? That is, you're producing a product, and that's where the state of Utah says you are required to have sales tax or something of that.
Kind of like your food to table.
Correct. I was going to say, it would be the exact same if it's,
Farm to
if you're
table.
producing a vegetable of that
What you're
nature.
producing fertilizer.
That would be the same. They would not be tax exempt for something like that. If, like, we'll use the Robertsons, for example, right? They are manufacturing it, they're putting it, they're selling it to Walmarts and all those. So yeah, they are actually, they would not be tax exempt under Utah.
So just to back up really quick, and I know you're quoting this 59, blah, blah, blah. What is the state tax, the state's business license number, or whatever that mandates that we have to do business licenses?
And I don't have.
Because I've had some people question me.
The top of my head,
It's okay, we
I
can
gave it
find
time
that
on it.
later.
Yeah, I
I
was
just
gonna say, I
didn't write it
can
down.
get it to you, but yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well, we definitely need to be in compliance with the state.
So anyways, number 3, yard sales for used, yard sales of used personal goods, or as minors and short-term, entrepreneurial activities such as a lemonade stand, right? We're not requiring business licenses for a lemonade stand. Businesses that are operated, occasionally by individuals who are under the age of 18, that are required to obtain a business license. Any such businesses may still apply if they want, but they would be exempt. Any home-based business. And so number 6 is the new law that was established in 2019 that was kind of brought up right a few months ago on that. And so it just talks about home-based businesses that aren't having a lot of impact on like your home base. And so it talks about employees. This is pretty much state law that I'm pulling all of this information for number 6 out of. And so this is the requirement of the state of Utah. So obviously we might as well throw it in ours, right, because the state of Utah has already said this is what they are requiring, and so put it in as number 6. And so questions about any of the exemptions, adding to or detracting from that one?
I don't think I can see right off the top of my head. Commissioners, council? I mean, it's like Beaver says, a lot of these documents like this are living, breathing documents. That
Right.
need to be amended and changed all the time.
Correct.
We can change, add to, or whatever needs to be done at any time on this, so.
So I think one of my main questions would be, these would be annual licenses, right?
Correct.
And is there a time frame during the course of the year, like a deadline or any of that kind of stuff? Because businesses come and go, but,
So if you want to go to 3:1:11, it actually talks about right there term of licenses, and so all licenses are valid January 1 to December 31st, and then it talks down below the license fees paid as part of the new application for businesses submitted to the clerk after November 15th will also apply for the following year, right? So if you started a new business after the 15th of November, it would just go to next year's. Is that what you were referring to there?
yeah.
And I was going to say, and then it goes into a little bit more detail with the fee schedules and things like that for late fees and late payments.
So have you got the fee schedule on here?
I do. I actually sent it to Jen in a separate email.
Will you be able to renew online?
Yeah, so that's our plan. We've created, under our My City Inspector portal, we've created a subcategory for business licenses now. And that's part of our agreement with them. They created pretty much an entire portal with that business licensing. And so hopefully what we can do is, right, if you want to apply for a business license, you would go on to that online cloud-based permitting website, click on it, fill out the information, and submit it all right there from your computer in 10 minutes. And then it goes to our system where we can have multiple departments looking at it and following up on it and taking care of it. I guess that kind of when we originally started, we talked, and I still believe this, is fees in that probably should be paid through the clerk's office, but most of the, depending on what it is, most of the licensing will be approved right through office, maybe gym, depending on what it is. So, marriage licenses, things like that will still obviously be approved. Again, there's lots of different licensing, models that we're looking at, but that's why I don't think you can say one department, so.
So can we do like a grace period for like the first year? Because trying to get the word out and fine tune this, I think there should be some sort of a grace period, I would think, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously getting the word out is probably the biggest thing. It's just like anything else. Whether, if people know about it, hopefully they're going to do the right thing and do it. Obviously, that doesn't always happen. Just like in the building permit world, right? You red tag people all the time for building illegally, finishing basements, whatnot. Most of them don't know,
Right.
but some do still, and try to get away with it.
So I know.
But yeah.
One of these, like the youth home thing, you know, the sheriff's been, you know, wanting to do something like that with the camps out west.
I definitely want
You know, we've had issues with them for years, so would that come under youth home?
Yeah, that business license, and like I said, I have a portion of that.
I mean, they run all their stuff through BLM. I know BLM issues licenses, but, you know, the county's the one that's up for all the search and rescue and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
and it's, I didn't send it to you guys today because it's part of that other 17 pages, right, of kind of other sub-business categories. But yeah, we have a youth home and a youth camp, and it just kind of talks about what we feel would need to happen at those areas for licensing and
I was just looking at your fee schedule, just to
Kyle, is there a component in your portal, in your cloud, to notify the assessor as far as personal property, if, you know, because that's kind of how they track?
yeah, they're a part of it.
Okay.
We actually give Trent's office access to that,
Okay.
and so they're able to pull it, any new permit or anything like that, they actually get that notification and then they can pull it. So it's actually helped. I joke with Trent, saying I'm gonna start charging him for that, but anyways, yeah, it's something that they use quite a bit now, so.
Yeah, I knew it was a feature that's kind of how they track personal property, the business licenses, and if they don't know, I feel like they need to be a part of it, so I'm just curious, so that's great.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, so we do that currently with the building permit, and we would just do the exact same with the business license aspect of it, so.
So is there a penalty for not doing it, or how are we gonna manage that?
Yeah, on the fee schedules, well, actually, no, on the fee, we do have a penalty,
right there, 3.14.
It's prohibited, yes.
there we go. I was gonna say, somewhere,
The Class B.
zone favors everywhere, so yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's Class B is what we, pulled up from state law, and so.
So as far as, that part of it, this is going to fall under your office though, right? Like the red tag or the, what am I trying to say?
That would be,
Whatever the penalty is.
correct, that would be in conjunction with the attorney's office, obviously, with letters and things like that, and then the sheriff's department, depending on where we go with it, but yeah. Normally, I would say we would be the ones to initiate that first, just like we do in the building department.
Yeah.
Right, if there's a red tag, we initiate it. If compliance isn't, if there's not compliance with that first, then we go to the attorney's office and have them send a letter and go from there, so.
Well, I think my question about the grace period is, you know, this is brand new. It's gonna take a while for us to get this polished up and cleaned up. There's gotta be some sort of a grace period on
Yeah.
our part and the business owner's part, right?
For sure. and I think it's gonna take time, obviously, in getting this in final approval and then getting it out to the public, for sure. So,
What is our timeline, you think, on that, our stuff here?
Just can we,
I want to talk today.
well, that's where I'm at.
So we would have to have a public hearing, we would have to hold a public hearing to adopt it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's the only thing with notification and all that stuff, it's probably a little.
Jen set that up for the, next commission.
For the week, on the 20th? Yes, sir. Or they can do.
Because we should have time to advertise and whatever and get that done.
So 10 days, right, is what state of Utah requires. So
14 days out, we should be,
Are you ready for that time?
maybe, hopefully, we make that.
I would say the first 10 pages for sure are ready for that. This document that you guys are looking at, and I will for sure have Jan or I email it to you and you guys can read it over. And if you see something that might be a red flag or something like that, we can adjust it obviously at that public hearing.
So does it need to be an ordinance to add it to the, general plan?
Yes,
This
yeah.
will be an ordinance.
Yeah.
And everything I've seen so far looks good. As I said, you got to start somewhere, so you got to adopt it, let's do the public hearing, adopt it, and then you guys, as you go along, you can amend it.
And like I said, the chapter 3.2 to 3.8 of all of the, right, the resorts, I have resort information, the beer license, the youth homes and youth camps, all of those, I would say we're not ready for at this time. I haven't been able to delve into that as I should. And so I would say we'd hold off on that, but this first 10 pages with a fee schedule are all pretty basic. It's the meat and potatoes of what we're doing.
I like that.
So, I keep going back to Grace Berry. Do we have any penalty as far as the county with the state?
No,
Okay, so we,
the state of Utah is just saying we should be doing this, right? We should be having business licenses. We should have, right, ordinances, and we should have subdivision laws and land use laws. There's no penalty if we don't do those things. It's just the state of Utah saying, hey, you should all be doing these things, so.
And these licenses are only in the county.
Correct, they would not be, in fact,
In the city limits.
I have information in there that talks about, right, if you have a license with a city and you're doing work throughout the county, you are not required to get a license from the county also. Right. I felt that that's something that, right, if they already have a business license, I don't think they need, correct, they don't need to get one in Beaver County also, just because they're doing work in Beaver County. If they already have a license, you use that license. So,
Our goal would be to start January 1, I would assume. If we adopt it on the 20th.
Mhm.
probably.
I was gonna say, I don't think
I mean, that's start somewhere, I guess.
I would probably recommend like a March 1st or something
that's what
like
I
that.
was thinking,
Just
we have to
because-
get the online stuff all set up. and
Correct.
whatever. I
There's-
don't think there's any way to get that put together by
okay.
January
All right.
first.
There's still quite a bit of,
Work needs to be done.
work on the back end that needs to be accomplished personally that I think that we're probably.
But do we adopt it before we're ready for all that stuff, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can adopt it, right, it's just when we actually start enforcing it, and so that, if the adoption is, hey, we're adopting this, and come March 1st, individuals are required to then obtain a business license, that's kind of, from information of doing, some information on other jurisdictions and that's kind of what it comes down to, is they put it, similar to a grace period,
Right.
but more of a, hey, this is when this is when you are required to start.
Well, this gets sticking, so are you gonna prorate those people that they're gonna, I mean, if they paid March first, really get paid for a whole year because you're not getting a whole year. So
No, it's similar to anything before November 15th, right? If you came in on November 14th and paid for one, you wouldn't be prorated. But if you came in on November 15th, right, you would. So you'd wanna know your dates there. And again, if they came into the office to pay for one on November 14th, I would say come back tomorrow, right? But yeah, if you came in July or June or anything else, yeah.
and December 31st.
It's not that expensive anyway.
I know, but.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Tell people might, but.
we kind of cut numbers down again just from what originally was talked about. And so fee schedules is another thing that you guys probably need to discuss and look over in the next 14 days.
How does your monthly fee schedule?
Just from going off of other jurisdictions. Really, I found 8 or 9 jurisdictions of similar size and just kind of went from what they were going off of. Iron County's I like a lot. It's just a little bit more muddy, I guess.
So a temporary beer license is the same as a Class A or a Class B license?
Yeah.
So the ones they do for 3 days for the first race is they're paying $300 regardless how many days they do it. Okay.
And most of those that I came across were the same, whether it's a temporary or not.
Well,
I think your liability is the same.
Correct, and I was gonna say, right, the work and everything you're doing is the exact same.
Right.
That's kind of why, talking to Washington County or Superior County, I can't remember which one, because I discussed it with them, and they said, well, nothing's changing from our side, it's just they're only doing it for a smaller amount of time.
that's a substantial difference in fees compared to what we currently charge, so it's going to be.
Yeah, and I don't think we've updated our fees for beer licenses since they've been put in.
Probably not.
Over, yeah, since
So-
19.
So just to, I don't know, what do you call it, the devil's advocate kind of thing? So if I'm selling beer or wanting to do a temporary license, but I'm gonna do it 3 or 4 times during the year, different events, do you pay every single time?
Not what I read, you pay just once.
Correct.
Okay, that's where I'm at, because I'm like, well, what if somebody did it
Well, so
at our events at the fair or wherever else, but it's the same person, right?
So in ours, it talks about different locations,
Yeah.
right, for beer licenses. And if you're doing it at different locations, probably would, at least from what other jurisdictions are doing. That doesn't mean we can't adjust. And again, we're not,
Well, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I mean, it's kind of like here, like, the booths at the fair, you know, we only have one fair event, and they pay one booth fee, but if we have more events and there's other things going on,
But non-profit, it's like Lions Club where they do it down, and they don't have to pay it, right?
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, any nonprofit, religious, farming, any of that, they would not be required for business license.
And even the beer license, I'm talking.
No, they would, because
If they are
they have it.
profiting from it, they would, yes.
It's a fundraiser, so they would be profiting.
Well, it's not, but they're a non-profit,
But so is the training center, and they buy one every year, is my point, like.
For the horse races?
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm like, if they're not, they probably should be. It's gonna be, that's a huge difference in what they have been paying for that 3 days.
Well, the only time they buy it is the only time they sell it is at the car show, I mean, and you're saying that the racetrack buys one every year for
They
the
truly
year?
get one every year. And the Lions Club did too, if they would come before that was dissolved. So if they're not, they probably should be. Because it's my understanding that they have
So
to
we've
have it
always
in order
had
to
their
get the
license fee in
license.
place?
That's what I believe.
Yeah, the DABC won't even issue
Correct.
their license if they don't have it.
What if they even vote that we require one?
How
I
are
know they got a bond, they bond for it, and they got
It's part of
it's legal to the
DABC, but-
state.
I don't know how they would be doing it, correct, I don't know.
Which is, I mean, I'm sure that's another topic somewhere else, but Yeah, from what I understand, they have to have our license in order for DABC to get the final approval for that, for the DABC license. Because ours is just a county one, but there's like two pieces of it.
They must be doing it because they've got they got everything else, because in order to get the bond, they have to have the DABC approval.
I've never sold them, or whether they're buying, I don't know, I'm just saying it.
I'll bring it up to Jeff.
Yeah.
So to answer your first one, you pretty much have not more than 4 permits for a single beer event. You can do up to 4 in a year. That's kind of what we have currently on, currently.
For the temporary one?
Yeah. And again, if the temporary one is too expensive, for sure, we want to alter that. Again, that's what you guys are here for. So if you, I'm just pulling information from other jurisdictions, so.
So back so that I understand this, so back on the beer license, that's whether you sell it every day or even just one time.
It looks like that's what that piece
Well,
is.
that needs to be adjusted.
I think so. I think the temporary needs to have a lesser amount.
It
What
does.
are
They
you
don't even make, they barely make.
$6. No, is that right? $6? I'm trying to think what, the 3 days?
It's like $5 a
Yeah,
day.
$10, something like that, yeah, it's not that much. It's like
You're
$300.
Jen, do you have the old right?
Yeah.
So a temporary license now is like $5 a day,
Yeah, like
or $6.
$3.
Yeah, see, that's the only thing I can think that needs to be changed on this between now and when we talk about Jerry next meeting, is we need to put a temporary, we need to put a one-day permit on their trial, I think.
Got a fee schedule.
A fee schedule per day is what she was saying.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, because I said, there's no, for $300, it wouldn't be worth their time to buy one, let alone sell it there.
Yeah, I mean, we have to probably increase the amount they charge to offset what they're having to pay for the licensing.
So it's 20 for Class A, 40 for B, and 3-day inside. And so then, if she's done more than 3 days, you do $5 for each 3-day period. And she did that just this last year.
Yeah, we charge it 10, so it's something like it's.
So that's totally contradicts then, so we've got to adjust that and change that.
Well, you don't have to, that's our fee schedule since 19 what?
90-something?
Yeah. We can still adjust,
Okay,
but,
Just between the two, right? I'd probably say, right?
Yeah.
If it's that big of a difference. then-
yeah.
Yeah, where you've got the same amount on each, regardless if it's an AB or a temporary. You probably should prorate it a little bit, whatever that looks like.
okay.
Kyle, thank you, it's like it's been a lot.
Lower.
Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it very much.
Been well appreciated.
Yeah.
It's been well done.
Lost what little hair I had.
You transplanted it.
Hair's overrated.
It is, I don't have to comb it anymore.
So you've got, Jen, and you've got to do the public, you've got down to do the
Yes,
public hearing,
for December
and then we'll adopt it next meeting, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
so,
job, thank you.
like I said, I'll kick those over to everyone and Vaughn and them, and you can read over it, and if you come across fee stuff too, for sure, I knocked down the normal fee one, but I didn't look at the beer license one enough, just after talking to other jurisdictions, so. They didn't change, and so I just left it the same, but it makes sense if we're having that.
Otherwise, you'd have just one fee. You have a beer license fee in the story.
Yeah, rather
There would be
than
no Class
three.
A, Class B, no temporary, you have one, in my mind.
Okay, so I'll look into that and do a little bit of research into that for the beer one also. There. Any other questions?
Looks good, thank you.
Thank you much.
And I'll send you the full 27 pages also, so you guys can have good reading material.
I love doing that way, they
Stuff to put you to sleep.
you like to drive the presentation with the mouse? I have the HDMI cord here for you.
See if we can just hook into my laptop.
Yeah, here's the cable that you'll need. All right.
There's one
Something we
mic,
wanted to do earlier today, but I think we got.
one microphone when you two sit down, if you would introduce your name, or introduce yourselves, your names and who you're with.
Sure.
Be with the record.
And if you can use that microphone, I think it should be on.
My name's Caleb Poole, Critical Minerals Refining,
Okay.
from Amarillo, Texas.
My name is Evan Palmer with Critical Minerals Refining from St. George, Utah.
Nice to have you here.
Welcome.
Nice to be here. I tried to bring some warm weather, but it wouldn't cooperate.
We were hoping you brought snow.
Well, we're glad to be here, and we'd like to feel the same.
Make sure you use the mic.
Because we're streaming, the streaming picks up when you speak directly into the microphone, so.
Well, we'll try. There's two of us here, so
Yeah.
we'll try.
I wish I had two for
Put
you.
right between you.
Is that as long as your cord is?
I think it is. I can see if I can get you a little more length here.
May have to switch sides, whoever heard the computer.
And the mic will move with you.
Like I say, this was all something that we were hoping to get done earlier when we showed up, but we had some unfortunate conversations.
Do you want the mic, the mouse?
No, failing.
Okay. They're not seeing the presentation just yet, so. There you go.
All right, y'all mind if I stand?
No, man.
Okay, I'm a little bit better.
No, please do.
Speaking, I'm gonna stand a little bit. Madam Commissioner and Commissioners, my name is Caleb Poole.
We can't hear you. You need to speak.
Sorry about that. My name's Caleb Poole. I'm from Amarillo, Texas. I'm with Critical Minerals Refining. We've come here today to give a presentation on our critical mineral refineries, who we are, the technology we use, and how we're positioned in the market. We understand that Beaver County has declared itself a economic emergency. That's one reason that we're here. We believe in the workforce that may be here in Beaver County. We believe that the culture of the county is something that we identify with greatly. Myself, I come from a small town of 500 people in the Texas Panhandle. Grew up on a corn, cotton, grain, sorghum, and wheat irrigated and dryland farm, and we also had soccer cattle. So I come from a small town background. I know what it's like to not have any stop signs or stoplights in your town.
I was mad when they put that in.
I know what that is. I was mad the first time I stopped
That
there.
was my claim to fame.
Previously, I worked for Congressman Max Thornberry in the U.S. House of Representatives while he was the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. It allowed me to spend a lot of time with county commissioners and county judges going through, make sure we've got our finger on the pulse of the district and, just learning how we can help. So it's nice to have those kinds of legs back underneath me as I come to y'all. This is my colleague, Evan Palmer. Evan works with me mostly on the logistics side, but he also is a savant, I believe, well, at least compared to me, when it comes to minerals and those things. So to get started, that's who we are. Critical Minerals Refining, what we do, we are hoping to come in and build out a network of 5 to 6 different refineries throughout the U.S. and contain and strengthen our national security needs in critical minerals. Right now we know that China does 95, maybe 99% of all the processing of critical mineral. The mineral that we harvest here in the States or even in other countries, Africa, Mexico, much of that mineral has to be sent over to China, processed, and we end up buying it back. That's not a great way to look at our supply chain when a dominant global supplier isn't a great actor on the world stage. Here I've talked a little bit about our zones. You can see that we've got Utah slated as a place that we'd like to be. We have some feedstock and ore stock already in the state that we would be bringing in, as well as ore from Mexico that we would fly in near the refinery and refine at the Critical Minerals Refinery if it were to be here in Utah. The goal of these 5 zones is, like I say, to just make a belt across our country, including Alaska, and tighten in and strengthen in our national security needs in critical minerals. We know that the amount of mineral needed to be processed today is where that hampering and tightening of the belt is. We've got mineral in the U.S. We've got mineral with actors in the world that are friendly and allies to the U.S. Where we don't lead is in the refining, and that is what Critical Minerals Refining plans to do and does in different locations. We bring in our ore, we reshore our critical mineral is how we talk about it, making sure that we're bringing things back into the U.S. Or jobs, and when we talk about jobs, we talk about all the way from warehousing employees to PhD level employees. And that's something that we really take a look at with Beaver County, is the culture of family. And if somebody, if a young person is graduating and wants to go off and get that PhD and come back and make some money, they've got a place to come back home now. When I was graduating college, I went home and farmed for about 5 or 6 years. And I couldn't get the amount of acres together to make a living. And I'm sure that you hear that from young people here in your county as well. So it led me to go into other things, and now I find myself working to build that way back home for others that I might not have had. A little bit about the product that we make. We don't just refine, let's say copper, for instance. We don't just refine copper. We refine copper into 99.9999% purities sold on the open market at, I believe the spot price for a kilo of nano powder copper, which is what we would produce, would be upwards of over $1 billion. These are semiconductor needs, electric battery needs, pharmaceuticals, and these are all people that we have been talking with, as we look at where we want to build, what's going to be in place there that would want to come in and build with us. Right now, I know we've been making strides to try to get in with Apple. They've stated they're going to leave China. We believe that's a great idea. We believe that a lot of things leaving China is a great idea, as y'all probably do too. As you can see on this slide, the currently processed mineral happens in China. We want to break that chain, and we want to bring that into the U.S. Oh, and I want to mention all of these slides we can make available in a more in-depth presentation for those of you that we have looked at to work deeply in an issue if we were to move forward in talks about how can we bring CMR, critical minerals refining, into Beaver County. This is a simple slide that kind of shows what our technology does. And we've got 2 pieces of technology. The first one, I don't understand. I'm a farm guy, I don't understand this. It's just a bunch of tubes and stuff. But what it does is it vaporizes out the mineral that we're not searching for, but going into harvest. So we can pull that out in a closed loop, and in a way, it's like a distillery, pull that out and capture it on the other side. We do that in that closed loop, then we can change up the chemical, and because it's in a closed loop, that's not escape. The chemical doesn't escape. There's no environmental impact to soil, air, or water. Now, we do use water that's been ranging in somewhere in a large Walmart. I don't know how many gallons that is, but that's what I've been told from our engineers. The second piece of the technology, I can't really speak a whole lot, but it's interesting in how we would be able to use that in remote settings, going out to do cleanup at tailings or sites that are unable to be navigated to in a regular vehicle. This is our leadership team. You can see that I'm not on there. That's because I like to just be the workhorse. I don't need to be a show pony, But my friend Evan, he made the show pony stage. I highlight our leadership team to show that we're all over the country. We've got individuals in Houston, the DFW Metroplex, Ohio. Evan is from St. George. I'm from the Amarillo area. Alex is from Mexico, where we have a proven mine that's high in rare earth elements, critical minerals, and magnesium. And that would be something that we would look to bring ore into the county to refine down into our nanopowders. And all of our leadership team, I know I'm going through this real quick, but all of our leadership team can be found on our webpage, cmr.energy. Now, how are we positioned? You can see here we've got some dots on a map that locate our planned refinery locations and our proven mine locations, and the mines that our leadership not only has access to, but has ownership interest in. We've been working greatly in the country of Africa with some of their we've got so many contacts in Africa because of our CEO. Chris Wilmot is an amazing man and has led Houston in so many areas, but he's also been that overseas contingent for Houston in Africa to assist in their economic development as well. Now, our goal in Africa would be to bring ore in through a port and then rail up to a planned refinery. But because we look at our refineries as working a zone, we can plan out to keep those refineries running at the capacity that makes the most for the company, that keeps people employed and not a shifting, well, I may have hours here, I may have hours there. We want to give our workforce, the necessary tools to build a life of their choosing in the county, while having we want to be in the county and work with your workforce and I get sincere and I lose my train of thought and my vocabulary, but we don't want to come in to build something only to then see it running at half capacity or a third capacity. We want to run our refineries at the market clearing point that makes the most sense for us, the most sense for the workforce, and the most sense for the pocketbooks of everyone involved. That's what we're here for. That's why we came to your county. We want to see if there might be an opportunity to enter into talks about how we could bring critical minerals refining into Beaver County. And if that's something that you would like to do, we would be ecstatic. But I don't know what my time is right now, but questions, comments, concerns? Suggestions?
Well, I got a question. Where are you looking at putting this at? Building that, what part of the county?
Well, that's something that I think Beaver County would have to say. That's something that we would be leaning on y'all. If you would want to enter into talks with us about coming into Beaver County and what that would look like, we would greatly like that. Now, we've got technology, we've got the team, we know that there's workforce, land, and financing where we're at. The financing portion, we know that the state of Utah has shown interest in critical minerals refining. We know that the federal government has grants and all types of programs for critical minerals refining. And so our take is that we want to find a home that then gives us the ability to make our numbers as accurate as possible when going after that financing tool.
The reason I say that is Beaver County is very diverse, especially in the topography, geography, what makes up the great county that we are. Because the east side is I-15. It's kind of always been where we looked at possibly doing high-tech type businesses. The west side, if you've been on the west side, it's mainly agriculture and truly industrial. Railroad over there, there's lots of mines over there. Most of our renewable energy resources is over there. So I mean, we have anywhere you wanted to go in Beaver County, I think we've got a fit for it. So
Sure. Well, I think that sounds great too. You know, driving in from Amarillo, I've never been into Utah, so I went up to Farmington, the Four Corners area, and came back down through Moab, and it's beautiful. You know, Amarillo, Texas, we've got beautiful
Don't go
lakes.
to Moab in the summertime, you won't see it.
Noted. But so I saw the great diversity of what the state has, and when I got into Beaver County, I noticed that it looked like my home, except with some mountains and some rolling hills. But it's agriculture. I noticed you've got your pumps you must not be pumping too hard on your water because we've got electric pumps running. We're running natural gas and diesel motors on ours, pumping for further down. So the land availability, the water availability, and the workforce availability is all what we are looking for in a package to begin talking with a county. And so those things all hit, and what you've described is you know, maybe where the county would look to cite something like this. We can easily get the electrical needs and water needs. In fact, last night I did get a write-up of financials from our chief strategy officer, but because we were so close to this, I didn't want to try to bring in another subject. But that's something that I know many of you have expressed interest in learning more about critical minerals refining, and we can get that to those individuals.
So one thing that we, you know, I'm sure Jim's talked to you about this, but we've been looking at an inland port site. You know, inland port's been a big topic in Utah for the last few years, but specifically they were looking at the Salt Lake area, but we think we kind of have a prime spot, you know, for Beaver County. We have the nexus of I-70 and I-15 just north of here, and then we've got really good state highways, and then the rail access and the cargo airport in Denver. And, you know, considering our economic future could be, you know, there's a lot of employment opportunities, so.
We finally got the politics out of the way. The politics is literally, political was killing us of where it was going to be geographically placed. We finally, you know, the wheel gets the grease, we finally got that wheel grease, and they're finally looking back now. It only makes sense for Beaver County to be the true hub of a satellite port in Utah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jen has shown us that, and I know that she has put in a tremendous level of work in getting us here and inland port talks going. And she's visited with us about the possibility of being the anchor business for this inland port, and that is something that we would be interested in. But in all of this, we must remember that it has to be the right fit for critical minerals refining, and it has to be the right fit for Beaver County. And so we're very wary of that. We have spoken with other counties, and we'll continue to do so because our business plan encourages us to go out in these other zones. But as far as this western zone, other than Alaska, Utah has been the first place that we have been this serious about coming to.
What natural type resources do you foresee that you're going to need the most here, such as natural gas, power, water? What's the strain going to be on that?
I don't see if there's going to be any strain on what.
Because water is, you may think it is, but water is very critical in Beaver County,
Well,
as it is the state right now.
Well, as it is the state, and as it is just, you know, from Texas west.
Right.
We're running out of water. We know we're not replenishing it at the rate that we're using it, especially in the west. So while water is a critical need, I don't have those numbers of gallons used
But it wouldn't be
per
a
production.
huge amount then.
No, it'd just be,
Well,
it's not using the refining process.
Okay, good.
And I guess I always like to be careful in my wording. You're using a lot of water might be different than are using a lot of water. But I think a Walmart
Supercenter is a pretty good comparison to what the electrical and the water requirements.
So out of the demonstrating,
I think think our limiting factor is the ore itself and getting that in. So once that happens, and I say limiting factor, it's just the logistics of it. We've got the reserves, we've got the proven mines to come in and start up a refinery and go with it. But it's the water, the electric, and any natural gas. I think we produce our own natural gas.
And the land, like, how much land are you looking at?
I always
In
think,
the area of 400 acres.
I always think a section sounds pretty good.
We got plenty of land.
Yeah, I always think a section gives you enough, and when we look at how to build, we're looking at, well, the refineries, which are built modularly. If I can get that now. This is a little, you see a little bit of what a module might look like. We build those modularly so that we can put 2 or 3 of them together, turn them on while we're scaling up in the rest of the plant. And that scaling allows us to make the best use of the workforce that we have, whether that be PhD level or a blue collar level.
What size of workforce are you looking at?
I think 250 is our starting number.
Okay.
250 in 36 months, and then we can run from there.
So I think you said that your heaviest, or maybe the most critical thing would be getting the ore. So the access points that we've been talking about on the railroad, the spur, the Smithfield Loop, the house tracks, and those kind of things, there's a huge opportunity for growth there. And so what kind of capacity would you be talking about bringing the ore in? Like, so many
Would it be in
cars?
semis, or would it be enough to bring it in on the rail?
Or is it rail?
Semis probably don't work, but rail definitely would. And then from our mine in Mexico, the most efficient and cheapest way really of doing that is flying it.
I apologize, it's very hard for people in the
Oh,
back
I'm
to
sorry.
hear unless you're just right on that mic. I apologize.
Okay. Well, I'll just back up and capsulize by saying that in terms of our Mexico mine, getting those feedstocks up here, the most efficient way is flying it. We wouldn't concentrate it at all. We'd just bag it in Mexico and fly in the raw ore and then store it and refine it here.
So one of the other things that we're kind of pursuing right now is the foreign trade zone. So if you're shipping stuff in out of Mexico, is that something that you would need to have in place?
If we were to concentrate it down there, then it would be subject to value-added taxes and some oversight. In its current state, it's just dirt until you refine it.
Just soil?
So it's a soil. Well, I say dirt.
Dirt is what you get in your home under your fingernails. Soil is what you grow things in.
Yeah.
True.
What is your timeline?
For today?
Well, for
The future.
future? What's your range?
Well,
What's your potential start?
Yeah.
I'm sure there needs to be a whole.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm,
There does, but-
how I'm thinking about phrasing this is.
Are you truly in the infancy stages at this point?
No,
Okay, so the train has left the station then?
we need a home.
Okay.
So you're asking how soon we can get started? I'm gonna throw that back on Beaver County. And I'm gonna say, if you want us here, then we need to start talking.
Oh,
And we need to get serious about it.
I can tell you, Mike, personally, and I can let the other two speak on it, half what I've seen and what I know and what Jen has told me and what I've understood and seen, I welcome it with open arms. It's just a process to go through the planning and zoning. We've got a representative here today from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. We have a really good relationship with the Governor's Office and the state of Utah to work together to help you folks too. So we can put together an amazing team that will work with Jen, to work with you guys, to get this moving as soon as possible.
We've been setting and resetting our starting blocks for a year.
Yeah.
We pushed, we helped push several projects into a place where they could be started, and now we're here to do that for ourselves. And so what we need to do is find a place to level our starting blocks on, get them set, and we're ready to run. We need a home, finish up funding, and we turn this over to our engineers and they go to work.
And Jen can help you with that step.
100%. It's one of those things where, in speaking with these gentlemen, I've been really impressed by the level of commitment that they have to this project, to the ideals of this project, and then further, even further, truthfully, the culture of their company itself, in and of itself. And so when I look at projects that I want to bring to Beaver County, or that I want to put even in front of you for even any kind of consideration, I try to be mindful of the culture and the culture of that company and what that's going to do to the culture of our folks here. I have been nothing but thoroughly impressed by both of these gentlemen. I've known Evan a little bit longer than I've known Caleb. However, both of them talk mightily about the right thing at the right time. They talk a lot about bolstering up the community. And so I think we can nail down the plans on how we want to move this forward, and we can start that. In fact, I'll put it on my calendar for Wednesday. Tomorrow morning we can start moving this road forward for certain.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Any other questions?
No, I'm excited about it. I have been from the moment I heard about it. So I hope we can get all our ducks in a row.
I echo the same, super excited, let's get things rolling.
Well, I think I can speak for Evan and say that we both are as well. Evan brought this to our team because of the economic awareness of the county, and that is something that pulled at our heartstrings. That is something that got us into looking at Beaver County, and when we got here and saw the opportunity and potential, I think that Evan should certainly be thanked for bringing this to our team, and we look forward to speaking about this further and finding a home for CMR.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Good. We never
All right,
had.
Dylan.
That's a first.
He's actually very quiet a lot of times. He really is.
Just wait for that other shoe to drop.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting out of county as fast as possible.
So again, welcome and
Yes,
stay in
welcome.
touch with, and if you need to talk to any one of us, Jen can give you our personal cell phone numbers. We're always available. Well, not always, but I'll always return your phone call or any of us will.
Certainly.
So we want to see this move forward. So
Do you guys
thank
have
you.
cards by chance? Do you have business cards right now?
Yes, we're,
I mean, you can get your information, just, so you're okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll send the
The
contact,
cards they give us are the tap, you tap it on the phone.
the QR code type that I keep trying to get you guys to adopt.
Yeah.
Don't adopt them.
Oh,
Oh, there you
scan with my phone?
Hold your phone to it, and it'll actually tap the contact card to you.
Oh, really?
Yes, Commissioner.
Education is required.
Here's one of my personal cards, I'll give you while you're waiting on that one.
There you go. Got it, I think. Yeah, I got it. Thank you, guys.
You can
Look at
share
that.
it with us now.
Yeah, you should be able to go ahead and just drop
You're
that
off
to
the
them.
pilot, huh?
So, are there any questions?
No, there isn't. Thanks again, gentlemen. What's that?
That's why we're looking at your airport.
Yeah, well, one thing about it, as I said, Beaver County is very diverse, and the east side and west side both has a lot of the same services and duplicate, and we're only 30 miles apart, so
Yeah.
we have it all to offer.
Good road.
Oh, yeah.
Really good roads. All the
And we
way.
got a great road system here, so.
All right.
Pleasure to meet you.
Well,
Thanks for being
thank you.
here.
Pleasure, you guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, turn it over to you quickly to talk to us about the travel council seat vacancies.
Absolutely, yes, we did have to change a little bit of what was noticed. Forge was supposed to be coming in and giving you a presentation, however, an update on what they're doing in the schools. However, the schools had to change their timeframe, so I apologize for that. Let me try to get to this screen right here, which are applicants for travel council seats. We had several individuals apply for the council seats, and the travel council has decided of those names whom to appoint. Darlene Webb is going to be taking up a second term, so she's going to continue on our council. Tanner Larson from Eagle Point, Tyler Van Drummelin, is the new owner of the Butch Cassidy Inn here in town. They are particularly excited to be here, and so they asked to put him on the council. And then we have gotten rid of Amy Caldwell because she has not attended enough of the meetings. She's attended one out of the 4 or 5 that they have held. So we have asked Wade Ostad from the Creamery to go ahead and take her place. We did have an applicant that came through, Wiley Hughes. He actually works in trash management, waste management, and so he doesn't quite fit the spec for who can apply for the travel council. However, he's one of those industries that's benefited, impacted, whatever.
Hugely impacted.
Hugely impacted. And so we actually offered him a non-voting seat to come and sit on the council as an advisory member, because we know that his input is very important for us and our success. Lane Tucker is the outgoing chairman. He did serve his 2-limit term, and so they voted unanimously to move Jordan Oswald to replace Lane in that capacity as the chair, and they are looking to put Tanner, Tyler, renew Darlene, and also add Wade. So that's the recommendation coming out of Travel Council in front of you today.
You know, one thing I've always prided myself in as being a commissioner is I'm very non-east side, west side, or geographic commissioner. I'm a Beaver County commissioner. But I have a problem with seeing not a person from the west side of either Miamisville or Milford sitting on this board.
Yes, so
And I have a problem with that.
that is something that has been addressed. There are people actually from Milford who come and sit on the advisory side of it. They're just not the executive. They're not executive voting members. We can only pull from the applicants that put in for it.
I can see Wayne Wiseman from Milford is there.
Correct. And I believe Wayne has served on the travel council before. You're gonna have to forgive me because a lot of this predates
Absolutely. No,
my
I
history.
understand that
But these recommendations were based off of the conversations have about which businesses we can use to, unfortunately, most of the businesses that would be able to qualify within this realm tend to sit on this side of the county, and so I think that representation kind of naturally shows itself sometimes through some of this. But there are advisory seats that come from each of the cities and are welcome to come to those meetings. Those are public meetings. We let them know when they are so that they can come. The Travel Council, as the board itself, just makes and does the voting. But they definitely hear out all of the concerns on both sides of the county.
So these are just the new applicants who are, or is this gonna be the total board?
This is the board.
That's the total.
Well,
board.
no, there's,
I'm just saying, when you said the executive, what's your, who's the voting members?
So I think the only name that's not included here is the gentleman that's also the
Tim Joseph.
Tim Joseph, thank you. Tim Joseph is still just in the middle of his term, so he and I'm messing up my name, excuse me. He and Jordan were the only sitting members that continued because they still had time left in their term. So
actually, there's one more, Reza Kia.
Reza, correct, yes, thank you.
I thought it was a 9-member board.
Yeah, Reza.
Yes, that's correct. So Reza is currently still sitting, Jordan is currently still sitting, and so it feels like a lot of churn because it is a lot of churn in my estimation. Normally we wouldn't be replacing Amy Caldwell at this point. Anna Larkin was sitting on the board and she moved away, so that created a natural vacancy on top of having Amy who hasn't attended most of the meetings, so that also creates an extra vacancy that we otherwise normally wouldn't have had.
Amy lived in Minersville, was that right?
Right.
I would just comment on Commissioner's ready comment, which I agree with. I think that has to happen. However, so
on the topic of Amy Caldwell. I mean, I go to these meetings and she hasn't come at all. And so she's really a non-participating member, even if she is
No,
on the
she needs to
or
be.
wherever.
No, I have no problem with that.
Wayne made comments that he would do it if needed, or if nobody else would do it, and nobody else from Melford applied, and so I don't know how we.
Well, I know for a fact that they kind of beat the bushes trying to get somebody
did.
to apply.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Well, you did, didn't you? Yeah, so I don't know what else to do about that, I mean,
So maybe refresh what the requirements are. They have to be in either the hotel business, right, or restaurant business.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Just in the business sector.
yeah, for those that,
Well, it's not just
It's
business
not just
sector.
business, it's gotta
But yes, it has to be an entity that
TRT,
collects TRT or
restaurant
restaurant tax.
be, right.
So gas stations do, right, because they
Well, they have prepared food.
sell food, right, exactly. So there is that little bit of leniency that we naturally get. But yes, my recollection is that Mr. Wagner's application did say he would if no one else.
Right.
Where we have a pool of applicants is kind of,
I know. The only other one that I could think off the top of my head would be, somebody like Todd McMillan, because they sell prepared food.
But Todd's been on there before. in
Well, the
Raleigh.
travel council. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll
they
go
weren't,
with it,
yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Never mind.
Okay, I'm not gonna beat this to death. Chair's gonna entertain a motion to, accept the recommendations set forth by the travel council for those board members.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hollingshead.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Peterson. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna vote nay on this, just because my personal beliefs, but where I'm at. Motion passes. Okay, at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to go into closed session just prior to lunch. We will resume back at 1 p.m., but I need to go into closed session at this point.
I'll make that motion,
Got a motion by Commissioner Hollingshead. Do I have a second?
Second.